Hi guys, I'd like to welcome you guys all back to Read with Melanin. Today we are back with another episode of the Bookish Epilogue where we recap and restart everything for the new year. Today we are doing a conversational video. This video is where I will be talking about or recapping my reading goals for 2023 that I set in 2022. And we're just gonna kind of sit back and have a conversation about what went right, what went wrong, and I don't know. Like, I feel like this might be a long talk. If this isn't a long talk, then I'll also talk about my 2024 books. But I know that, you know, the stats tell me that y'all don't watch my videos for more than 10 minutes, so I'm trying to keep it around that realm. How many books did you read this year, Brittany? I don't know. I think I read like 40 books. This is by far the lowest reading year that I've had. In fact, it's been slowly going down. Obviously, during COVID, it like really took a peak and then a drop. But obviously, I just did not read this year. Half the time, it wasn't that there was no other reason other than other hobbies caught my attention and kept me more in tunes. My switch, you can do switch from bed even when you're sad. So I didn't read a lot of books. I will say that I read a lot more books that thoroughly interested me. And so I DNF'd a lot. I did not pick up a book just because book social media was telling me, oh my God, this book was so good. I did, I tried. I did pick up a couple of them, and a lot of the ones that were heavily pushed by social media did not give me what I needed it to give. So they were like, automatic fails. Looking at you, Fourth Wing. And so I just did not read. I spent a lot of time listening to audiobooks because I do go into the office once a week, but even with that, work started becoming a little overwhelming to where I wasn't able to just sit at my desk and listen to an audiobook while I worked. There was a lot of collaboration that I had to do with other coworkers. So reading kind of fell by the wayside. Even when I was driving home, I was spending time driving home, calling family members, talking to people, and things of that nature. I would spend time that I would go see my family, actually trying to be more engaged with my family or just hanging out with my granddad, Those are the kind of things that I really put an emphasis on this year. So I was really trying to be, more active because truth be told, it's very easy to kind of close yourself off to people. So reading for me has kind of been a very easy way to close myself off from people. And so I haven't done a lot of reading because I've been really putting myself out there. The Black Prose Club hit the same kind of snag. So I know you guys haven't seen Black Prose be very active. We tried. Life has been lifing for all three of us in three very different ways, but in fact, all of them involving family. And so the priority obviously comes to our mental health and our families, and that's why we did not meet and do a lot of things for Black Prose. But we did not read. We did not get any of our group reads done except for the first quarter. We did not get to do a lot of the content that we wanted. Our social media kind of just deaded. We are still friends. They were just over my house for Friendsgiving. But we just accepted that this year, Black Prose, even though we didn't want it to happen, like we just needed the full break. And so the content suffered, but we as a group didn't suffer. So we're just grateful that we made it. If you ask any of us, this year was boo-boo ka-choo-choo. And so we look forward to trying again next year. And I think another thing with that is, we're just going to have to really, really try to figure out a schedule that matches, that we can handle when things happen in our lives that, the content won't suffer. And I think that's just like a learning curve for us as a group. So I worked my butt off on those beautiful reading planners, and I never used my reading planner this year. In fact, I didn't really do a lot with my Bookish or my planners at all. Another reminder, as always, the Mastermind Your Year series is going on my planner channel. So if you guys want to learn more about that, go check that out. Links are down below. But the same way that I struggled with my bullet journal and my business planner and even the digital planners that I've been working on creating, everything was very difficult for me to process this year. So the more overwhelmed I got, the less I was organized, the less I actively set a precedence to get a better control of my life, which I know is the opposite of what all the organization girlies tell you. But the only thing I can do is be honest. And when I get stressed out, everything starts to crumble. My house starts looking a mess. Me starts looking a mess. I start getting hormonal breakouts. Everything, my body will literally show you that I'm going through something. And my life, my house, my whole being will be a reflection of the stress that I'm feeling. Therefore, there were no more Saturday mornings where I would, get up and, plan out the next week and all that stuff. I even stopped working out. There were so many moments in my life this year that just tanked. Like, God knows how much I weigh right now. I can't focus on that right now. But none of my planners got the love that they normally get this year. It got me to the point where I was even like, dang, do my reading planners suck? Is that why I'm not using it? Maybe my reading planners suck, which created literally the worst roadblock ever, which is why, another reason why the final product, the reading planner, did not slap. Like, I understand that everything happens for a reason and God has a plan over my life. But when I tell you, this year, I'm trying to figure out what that plan is because I want to cry all the time of the frustrations that I've gone through this year. That also translates into my planner usage. So again, if you guys are interested, we will be doing a reading planner setup video. And if you guys want to see two different ones, I can pull out one of my reading planners from the previous year and we can do a analog version and a digital version. So just let me know. I feel, while I still discuss all of the things that did not actually work out right, I can't call them failures because I never got a chance to thoroughly showcase them or give them a chance because I did not manage my stress well this year. I'm just gonna say that I thoroughly enjoyed my reading this year. There were many books that just gave me happy feelings, many books that when I finished them, I needed more. There were books that sent me on emotional roller coasters. I very much enjoyed my reading this year, but I do have some bookish goals that I want to incorporate into the new year, where I hope that I can get a little more happiness and happy feelings. And the first one obviously is I want to devote some time to reading again. I used to devote about 30 minutes a day to reading, and I'd been doing that since Quarantine Pages for COVID, and I low-key kind of miss Quarantine Pages right now. I even found myself joining different people's reading sprints, but just not having the desire to read. And I would just listen to them talk about books or talk about the books that they were reading because I was just kind of missing my community. I was missing the community where we talked about books more. So it just kind of made me feel like while I do talk junk about the channels that do nothing but reading sprints and book hauls and the vlogs that are not really reading vlogs, I do talk junk about them, and I'll probably continue to in fact talk junk about them. I also just don't want to diminish the fact that there is some camaraderie about reading sprints. I just don't think that they should consume your entire channel. It also does not mean that I will be doing reading sprints. I just won't. I'll be doing my own reading sprints. Maybe I might call a friend and we might read together, but I don't see myself putting it on the internet just yet. Obviously, things can change if I come up with a better idea on how to make reading sprints more where we get to actually talk about the books, or maybe instead of just random reading sprints, we could all read the same book and have reading sprints like that. But I also know that Storygraph is doing has a new feature now where you can do where you can read with a group of people, and like you could put your notes on the parts when you get to them. I think that is a fantastic idea, and it is something that I really, really want to incorporate into my reading and just into my group as a whole. So if you're interested in reading some books with me next year as Read with Melanin, please let me know, because I have 4 books on my list already that I think I want to do a group read with, and we will be doing the group read over on Storygraph, hence why we will definitely be getting my Storygraph together at one point in this thing, which leads me to my next goal, which is actually use my Storygraph. So I set up the Storygraph and never touched it again. I ain't looked at Storygraph one time. I have seen other people, I think I watched Locked Booktition, I think at one point, set up a Storygraph account and like organize her books. I want to do that. I do. I want to take all the books that I read this year and I want to put them into my Storygraph. But I know that just requires me to sit down and figure out how to use Storygraph, and I desperately need to do that. I think instead of making that a video, I think what I'm going to do is just do it with one of my friends that I read a lot of books with anyway, so that she and I can start using the buddy read feature on there, because that would be so great. And I just want to know, if you do know about the Storygraph, can you do the buddy read thing using the Storygraph app? Like, would I be able to pull it up on my phone and, be like, I made it to page, X, Y, and Z, and I type my comments? Does that feature work on the Storygraph app? Please let me know down below. I would like to know. Another thing that I want to get back to is the whole one nonfiction a month thing. I was doing a one nonfiction a month thing and it was working for a while, and then I got stuck on the Story Brand book because it was very dry and boring to me. So I want to get back to one nonfiction a month, and I actually wanted to be more focused on my personal growth rather than my business growth, just because I feel like I really need to pour more into myself so that other parts of me, even like my business, my body, and everything, can flourish. So that is something that I'm going to be incorporating. In fact, that I plan on having all 12 books that I want to read for the year pretty much laid out. If you have any books, Christian books, prayer books, self-help books, image books, eating books, those kind of books, if you guys have any that you have read and you really liked and you felt like it was beneficial to you, obviously leave it down below in the comments so that I can look at it too. As I am pulling off books off my shelf for the unhaul video that I want to do, I realized that I kind of went on a little bit of a too much buying spree. I know that in the last couple years we've been buying a lot more, things of that nature, but there are a lot of books on my shelf that I do not consider, oh my God, I'm gonna reread these kind of books. And there are a lot of books on my shelf from old owl crates and fairy loots that like I have no interest in reading whatsoever. And so we need to make a library donation run. And for that very reason, I think that what I'm going to do is continue on the fact that certain books by certain authors, I'm going to buy them. I trust these authors at this point. They've given me a reason to trust them, so I'm going to buy their books. I understand that we, especially as Black readers, our buying power is very powerful, especially when it comes to BIPOC authors and especially new authors where their books are not necessarily getting put in Barnes & Noble. I do understand that we have that buying power, but for me personally and the financial goals that I have set in place for the next 5 years, I cannot buy every book that's coming out this year. I am going to be relying more on my library, more on ebooks that I can rent from my library and audiobooks that I can get from my library. And if the book ends up being absolutely freaking fantastic, I'm definitely going to continue this series type of book, then that's something that I will purchase. But I think you're going to see less book hauls from me, minus my birthday month. You're going to see not very many book hauls from me, just from the fact that I have 5 bookshelves in here, and I'm probably going to switch out one of my shorter bookshelves over here for another tall one. But those are the only bookshelves available in my house. I will not be buying more bookshelves to take up space. I will be only using the certain bookshelves that I have. And so for that reason, I need to be more picky about the books that are going on my shelves. I still have the Fairy Loot YA and adult subscription. But I think after my birthday, we're going to review those and see how many of the books that I got were books that I actually really wanted to read. Because sometimes Fairy Loot sends me a box and it's like both books definitely wanted to read. And then other times they send me and I'm like, I have no idea what either one of these books are, and they're not holding me. So that's one of those things. I think that setting these kind of goals for myself. Oh, also, I want to be back in my library more. So I haven't actually been spending a lot of time in my library, which is also another reason why I haven't been reading. I haven't been spending a lot of time. As you can see, we've currently wintered out my library chair. And so I do like decorating for the seasons. I like giving my chair personality. And then I like falling out my library, and I like winterizing it. But I think that this year it's gonna be less about the decorations and more about the actual reading. And I've worked so hard to create such a nice little space that, you know, like, let's use the freaking space. So that's what I plan on doing. I guess you could say this is my Bookish goal review video for the Bookish epilogue. What are some goals that you have? What are some goals that you want to improve on? Let me know down below in the comment section. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much. And until the next video, guys, happy holidays.